Today we're going to be changing the front and rear pads and rotors on a 2014 Ford Fusion. First thing you want to do is remove the wheels, all four. So these are 19mm lug nuts. Sometimes these can be a little swollen, so your socket will stick on them. Get your wheel out of the way. And we're going to want to take off the caliper and the caliper frame so that we can pull the rotor off. This rotor does not have any kind of screw holding it on, so it's probably just going to be on with a little bit of corrosion around the hub. For the caliper, they've got these plastic caps that go into a rubber boot, and that covers up the bolt head, which is a 7mm hex. So take those off. Maybe work a small screwdriver or something in here to pry these spring clips out. Your hardware kit should come with a new one of those. If you didn't get a hardware kit, then you can reuse this. With the caliper bolts backed out, they're not all the way removed, but just backed out. You can see they're separated from the frame there. You should be able to just peel this off. And then you're probably going to want to get a hanger or something to suspend it. That way you don't put extra pressure on the brake line. Just find a spot over here to hang that. We're just not going to put too much tension on the brake hose. Then we're going to take the frame bolts out. These are going to be 18mm bolts. I'm going to break them loose with 1/2-inch drive ratchet and then stick an air ratchet on there. Taking the rest of the way out. Maybe it's pretty stiff. They must have some Loctite on them, or they're rusted in. So there you see, blue Loctite. That's why it's so difficult to get out. Remove the caliper frame, and then we're gonna take the rotor off. Like it's stuck on there pretty good, so I'll be whacking it with a hammer. Anytime I'm going to be hitting the rotor with a hammer, put a little safety mechanism on there so that if it does fly off, it's not going to hit the floor. That one is definitely rusted on around the hub. And that's how you get the rotor off. If you want, you can wipe down this hub surface, so get the dust off of there, and then you can hit it with some Scotch-Brite or some sandpaper, just kind of knock off the corrosion before you put your new rotor on. After you get your rotor installed, you want to put the bracket back up here for the caliper and reinstall the bolts. I am not going to put new Loctite on. It's unnecessary. Tighten these caliper bracket bolts back down, 18mm. Okay, for your pads, looks like one of them is clipped into the inside of the piston, which we're going to need to depress in a second. But so that one goes to the piston side, and then the other one, I believe it's just adhesive sticking it on. So I'm gonna grab something and knock that loose. It's just adhesive holding that on the backside there. For depressing the piston, a lot of times I'll just use a quick clamp. I'm gonna go slow. You don't want to overflow the master cylinder by too quick of a depression. And then we'll get our new pads. Okay, on one of the pads, the one that does not clip inside the piston, you're gonna have to peel off this adhesive cover. And then you're gonna have to try and get it set inside right here. And make sure you have enough clearance to slip the caliper over the top of it before you tighten anything down. Once you get those pads seated, one of them is going to clip into the caliper piston right there, so there's no option on its position. And then the other one you can slide into the bracket and put the caliper over the top. And then you want to line up these bolts on the back, which is going to take some driving down a little bit before you tighten them up. All right, on the back side, you want to reinsert your 7mm. Snug these down. After you tighten these down, you reinsert your plastic caps to keep the brake dust out of there. Last step is to put in this spring clip here. You want to shove it into both of these holes on the caliper, and then you're probably going to have to use a pry tool to get these edges bent down underneath. So it should have tension on it like this. Well, I guess I can do it without a tool. When the clip is installed, the only thing left to do on the front is stick the wheel on, tighten down your 19 lug nuts. Okay, moving on to the rear, we've got a similar but a little bit different style of clip here you got to remove. This one's more of a wire instead of a flat metal. And the challenge with this caliper is there's going to be an electronic parking brake on here. So you got to either retract it with a procedure with the car. There's a sequence of buttons to push, or pedal, or key, and all kinds of stuff on different vehicles. Sometimes you can use a power probe and just reverse the polarity on giving it 12-volt power, and you can back it out that way. And other times you can unbolt and just remove the parking brake off the back of the caliper. So I'm gonna check and see if this one has a sequence. So we put it in brake maintenance mode, and if it does, I'll use that. To activate the brake maintenance mode, we're gonna use this parking brake button here, and you're gonna wanna depress it down and hold that while you go through the sequence with the gas pedal and the key and all that. And then when you're done with this system change of the brake pads in the rear, you'll want to take it back out of brake maintenance mode, and you'll be holding the button up instead of down. So step one is hold the gas pedal down all the way, and then depress the parking brake button, and then turn the key in the on position like 2 or 3 seconds. Turn it back off for 2 or 3 seconds, and then back on. And while you're still holding everything, you can hear the parking brake retracting, and you'll see that message that says brake maintenance mode right in the front. So once that is done retracting, you'll hear the brake stop moving, and then you can go and change the pads. After retracting the parking brake, which the electronic parking brake's back here on the back, you just need to pop the caps off just like the front. 7mm. Loosen the caliper bolts. That one's pretty tight. And I'll finish them off with the air ratchet. After you get your caliper bolts removed, and you can peel this caliper off of there. And you want to use a hanger to hold it out of the way. Then you can remove your pads. Caliper bolts on the back side of the frame are 15 millimeter. Pull your frame bolts out and remove your frame. Same trick on the back is you're going to put one of those lug nuts on. So as you're knocking the rotor off, it doesn't fall on the floor or your foot or whatever. Put your new rotor on, and then replace your frame. Tighten these frame bolts back down, and then we're going to need to retract the piston here. It's got the style that has a couple of indentions on the face of the piston, which means there's tabs on a caliper tool. Sometimes you can grab them with a pair of vice grips or channel locks and you can turn them a certain direction to get them to retract, but I have the caliper tool, so I'm going to use it. So this is the brake caliper tool. You got a backing plate that slides down over the top of the handle here, just like this, and that backing plate's going to fit up in here where the brake pad goes. Then on the front of it, there's different sizes of plates, and you got to line up. There's notches on the front of this caliper face, or the piston face, that these two pins line up with. So when they fit on there, it kind of locks it in place. And then there's two holes that go on the dowels of the tool. So you can feed this in here, collapse it all the way, get it to where it lines up on those pegs. Where you got it locked into place, and then you back this screw out to tighten everything together. And as you tighten it, you're depressing the piston. So I'm just doing it by hand here. If it gets stiffer, I'll have to get it with a wrench. But you just continue to compress that piston down to where you can fit the new brake pads in there. So once you get it depressed, you thread that back down so that you can remove the tool. And then we're going to set our pads inside of the frame, which is already bolted up and already tightened down. And if you remember, as you disassembled, the pad with the springs goes on the inboard side, and the one without the spring goes on the outboard side. Then you can put your caliper back on. I'm sure these bolts aren't going to interfere. And then start and reinstall your caliper bolts. After you tighten down the caliper pin bolts, and you reinstall your plastic caps to keep the brake dust out, and then you reinstall your steel clip on the front, which I'll probably need to use a pair of vice grips to get that done. Nope, got it with fingers. Then you just need to put the wheel back on, tighten down your lug nuts, repeat the same procedure for the other side, and in a few minutes I'll show you how to take the car out of brake maintenance mode. All right, in just a second you're gonna see a video clip where I'm taking the car out of brake maintenance mode, but I made the mistake of saying brake pedal when I mean accelerator pedal. So just like in the process of putting it into brake maintenance mode, you wanna be holding down the accelerator pedal while you're going through the sequence, not the brake.
Okay, when you re-enter the vehicle, it's going to tell you that it's still in park brake maintenance mode. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and insert the key and do the opposite procedure here. Hold the brake pedal down, hold the parking brake up. Now cycle the key on. Couple 3 seconds, back off. Couple 3 seconds, back on. Now you can hear the parking brake engaging and the maintenance mode sign goes away. So once you hear the noise stop, then you can let go of everything. It shows that the parking brake is engaged. Now we shut the parking brake off by putting our foot on the brake pedal, and you should be able to turn it back on and back off with the button and your foot on the brake pedal. And that's how you get it back into regular parking brake mode. If you like today's video, please subscribe to the channel.